Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to another video about IELTS speaking cue card questions. This video is gonna be slightly different from previous ones because in my previous videos you only listened to my voice, you watched my voiceovers, but today I'm making talking heads video, like you can see me on the screen. I think this is gonna be much more interesting and much more effective also. So let's start. In this video, I'm again answering one of the latest questions of IELTS speaking exam, part 2 questions, together with part 3 questions. But before we dive into the main content of the video, let me kindly remind one very important message. I am making my own answers to different IELTS speaking questions, but you shouldn't learn my answers by heart, but rather instead of learning my answers by heart, you should learn some pronunciation or some new words or grammar aspects from my speech, because if you learn answers by heart and if you give memorized answers in your speaking exam, examiners will anyway find out it, and this will dramatically reduce your score. Instead of learning others' answers by heart, listen to their speech, get some ideas, learn some language from their speech, and then create your own answers. So now, time for the question. So today's question is, I got it on my phone, describe an old person you know and respect. We have 4 sub-questions. Our sub-questions are, who this person is, how you know this person, what he or she is like, and finally, you need to explain why you respect him or her. I got this question from the website called IELTSspeaking.com, and this is one of the newest questions of IELTS speaking exam. If you are taking the exam or if you already took the exam during June, July, August 2020, you might be given a similar question. Now it's time for my speech. At the same time, you can read the scripts of my speech, you will see the subtitles, and you can listen to my speech. It really helps you to understand my speech much more easily. So let's start. Respecting elderly people is ingrained in the culture of Uzbek people. I think it's in our blood because from early childhood we're taught to respect elderly people, to look up to them. I know when I look up to many people, many old people in my life, and one of them I want to talk about is my grandmother. My grandma is over 70 and now she's not as fit as she used to be. That's why she goes to regular medical checkups to maintain her health. A lot of childhood memories are connected with my grandparents and their house because I used to spend a lot of time in their house. I lived in my grandparents' house until I was 5 years old, then we moved out. But even after we moved out, we would often visit them once or twice a week. And she used to cook a very delicious meal called yupka in our language. If I describe this meal, this is a type of pancakes, but quite different from English pancakes. It is much thinner and bigger round pieces of dough greased with cream, and it's usually served with sugar or any type of jam. This is a very finger-licking yummy meal, and she still cooks it for me when I visit her, and a small bite of this meal reminds me of my sweet childhood memories. I remember I, together with other grandchildren, used to climb trees, pick fruit and eat them right on the tree. We even didn't bother to wash them. This was very fun times in my life. And in terms of her character, my grandmother is a very kind, polite and friendly person. I think this is the best aspect of her personality because I've never seen her shouting at other people. That's why now many residents of the village, she lives in a village, respect her very much and they look up to my grandmother. And that's all I want to talk about my grandmother. I love her very much. This is the end of part 2 answers. Now let's move on to part 3 questions. I will be reading out the questions and will be answering them. I have the questions on my phone. So the first part 3 question, what qualities does a person need to have to take care of old people? So this question is asking from us about what characteristics a person needs in order to look after elderly people. So my answer is, I think first of all, a person who looks after elderly people needs to be very patient because elderly people, they have some old age problems. They might have some health problems, illnesses, or they might be suffering from loss of memory. That's why from time to time they might act like young children. They might become childish, capricious, or they might throw a tantrum. And in these situations, people who take care of elderly people, they do need to be patient, and besides that they need to be good listeners, because elderly people, they usually spend a lot of time in isolation. They need to talk to other people. They like indulging themselves in their past memories, in nostalgia, and they like sharing their memories with other people. And in such time as other people who are taking care of them, they need to listen to their speech very patiently to show respect to them. So the second question: do you think old people should be taken care of at home? Well, it would be perfect if old people are taken care in their own houses, in the houses where they spend most of their lives, because a house is connected with our memories and it's a part of our memories, and staying in the house where you lived most of your life would be, of course, very pleasant to every person, but it's not possible all the time, because some young people who take care of elderly people might be very busy, or sometimes elderly people might be seriously ill and they need to receive medical treatment regularly, and they need to be taken care by special nurses or professionals. That's why they might have to spend time in special hospitals or care homes. Next question, question number 3. How can people in the neighborhood help the elderly during an epidemic? Well, this is actually a very interesting question because it's related to the latest events in our life. During the lockdown period, it's not easy, not for the elderly, even for young people also. It's a tough period because we feel cut off from the outside world. We cannot communicate freely as we used to before. Well, yes, we can help elderly people by doing the shopping for them, like maybe bringing groceries for them, or maybe bringing other necessities such as medicine or other things instead of for them, because they can't often visit crowded places or such places. But I wouldn't suggest visiting their houses quite often physically, because we know that elderly people are susceptible to different viruses and diseases. That's why it's better not to communicate with them like in person too much very often. Now, last question, question number 4. Do you see this kind of help occurring in your neighborhood? Well, in terms of the neighborhood where I live, I don't know very well because we recently moved in this house, but I can talk about the neighborhood where I grew up. In my hometown, the situation is quite different. Elderly people, they never live alone. They usually stay with their young son or with other sons or daughters when they grow old, and they are usually taken very good care by their children. And for example, if I talk about my own grandparents, they stay with my uncle, and my dad, my other uncles and aunts, they visit them quite often every other day. And that's why they don't need to be helped by other people, because they are helped and they are taken care by their own children. Thank you very much. This was the end of my answers to part 3 questions. I think you liked my answers and you got some ideas about our Uzbek culture, about my own opinions about taking care of elderly people. Now we're gonna discuss some of the words which I used in my speech, because you might also want to use them in your speech. So one of the phrasal verbs which I used in my speech was look up to. Look up to is a synonym of respect. This phrase means respect and admire other people. This is a very positive word. For example, you can say, in our culture, we are taught to look up to elderly people. We are taught to look up to elderly people. Other words, if you paid attention, I used the phrase ingrained into. Ingrained into, it's used about different beliefs. It means you believe in something so strongly, so firmly that it's unlikely to change it. For example, it's deeply ingrained into Uzbek society that we need to look up to elderly people. So if something is deeply ingrained in something or into something, people strongly believe it and it's unlikely to change this belief. Other words which I used in my speech, this is finger licking good. Finger licking good, it's used about foods, and this expression means very, very tasty. I described my grandmother's meal as finger licking good. So you can also use this phrase to describe very delicious meals. Finger licking good. Other words and expressions: indulge in something. Indulge in something, it means to allow yourself or other people to have something enjoyable, and sometimes this something enjoyable might be more than good for you. For example, I'm not allowed to eat chocolate or eating too much chocolate, but sometimes I like indulging myself in chocolate. Like I allow myself to eat chocolate maybe more than enough. So I like indulging myself in chocolate in this expression. Other words which I used in my speech, this is nostalgia. I think you know this word because it's quite popular, and in many languages we have the alternatives of this word. Nostalgia, it means feeling pleasure, feeling pleasant, or at the same time slight sadness because you are thinking about past memories. For example, that song filled me with nostalgia. Like I listened to the song and it made me remember my past memories, and at the same time I'm feeling pleasant and slightly sad. So this music, this song filled me with nostalgia. The next word is groceries. Groceries usually used in plural, and it means foods which you bought or you buy from supermarket. For example, in my speech, I told that if you want to help elderly people during the lockdown period, you can buy the groceries for them and deliver it to their houses. The last word which I want to explain is susceptible. Susceptible means easily harmed or easily influenced by something. In my answer to one of the part 3 questions, I said elderly people are usually susceptible to different viruses and diseases. This means that they are easily harmed by different diseases or viruses. Thank you very much. This was the end of the video. This was the end of the words which I wanted to explain in this video. Thank you very much for watching the video till the end, and if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, do all the stuff here. It helps me to promote my channel. And share the video, by the way, with people who are studying for IELTS, because this might come in handy for them. And see you in the next videos. Bye! And you need to explain why you respect this girl instead of for them, because Buldu? Что düşündün?